In this week's Motor Week, Ginny Buckley drives a tasty trio of Volkswagens. There's a super sporty 1.4-litre 16-valve Lupo, followed by the new entry-level 1.6-litre Beetle. Last but not least is that firm favourite, the Golf, in the form of the V5. Ian Royle then serves up a tasty used car morsel in the shape of Porsche's legendary 911. Ken Gibson pulls no punches looking at the staggering concept car from Isuzu, the Kai. Plus we take a sneaky peek at the long-awaited replacement for the Peugeot 306, the 307. But first...
A luxury romantic hotel on the edge of the Italian lakes. A new car to drive, what could be better? Except it's February, it's cold, it's misty, and it's raining. Of course, everybody thinks the Mini MPV is a new sector in the motor industry, but nothing's further from the truth. In fact, the first Mini MP came out in the mid-1950s here in Italy with the Fiat 600 Multipla. The Daihatsu YRV is the latest example of the genre. Daihatsu says YRV stands for Young Recreational Vehicle. The fact that the front seats fold flat forward and the rear seats fold flat back to make a double bed indicates the sort of recreational use the young might make of it. The press release describes the YRV as having the interior space of a Golf inside the external dimensions of a Fiesta-sized car, and they also point out it's very, very close in external dimensions to the Audi A2, but there the similarity ends. This is not an Audi by any stretch of the imagination, but of course it is £4,000 cheaper. The 1.3-litre engine does give it a fair amount of punch. 110 miles an hour, almost maximum speed, a 0 to 60 figure around about 10 seconds, and a claimed 55 miles to the gallon, but not all at the same time. They've avoided having a low-spec entry-level car, but there's 3 versions, £1,000 separating each, and you get ABS and electronic brake force distribution, and different airbags and CD player according to the spec you choose. But even this base model is pretty well equipped. As you'd expect from the compact dimensions, relatively handy little car. It seems to hold the road quite well, it goes well, it's easy to drive. What more can you say about this class of Japanese car? It's not the most stylish little box on the road. Daihatsu make much of the double wedge line to the side windows, but it's hardly an earth-shattering shape. Prices, well, $9,500 for the entry car, $10,500 with air conditioning, ABS and alloys, and $11,500 with automatic and CD. It's not cheap, especially since opposition from the majors, Ford, Vauxhall, Fiat and Renault, are all offering such fiercely competitive deals at the moment. It's quite comfortable, the noise levels aren't excessive, it's quite well trimmed, nice choice of material inside. Goes on sale in March, and there's a turbo version coming later on in the year with 140 brake horsepower. That should be quite fun. As you'd expect for this kind of vehicle, the rear seating is flexible, to say the least. Reasonable legroom with the seat in this position, or you can slide it right forward to give you much more leg space, and because you're so high in the vehicle, you still get reasonable amount of legroom anyway. The tailgate opens really high for a little car so you don't bang your head. A neat tray in the luggage compartment with these extensions to make sure your luggage is on a flat surface, and underneath the tray, well, oddment stowage, so you can put the odd bottle in it, and the spare wheel underneath. Unfortunately, a space saver, which I hate. I wish they'd give us a full-size spare. Daihatsu say that they anticipate the YRV will make up 30% of all their sales next year. These sort of prices, they could well be right.
Volkswagen may have been very busy transforming Skoda and Seat into top quality marques, but that doesn't mean that they've neglected the VW badge. You might think that they haven't had anything new out for quite a while, but you'd be wrong, because just take a look at this lot. Over the past 6 months, 11 new models have found their way into the bulging Volkswagen range. Everything from the power-packed V6 4Motion Golf and Bora to the Polo Saloon and Estates that feature brand new interiors. The only problem I've got is which to drive first, and I've never been good at decisions. Well, the Lupo might be the baby of Volkswagen's range, but they've managed to squeeze in a 1.4 litre 16-valve unit that produces 100 brake horsepower. And until the arrival of the Lupo GTI, which is coming soon, this is the fastest version, and it does feel very nippy. The top speed is 116 miles an hour, and 0 to 60 will take you a respectable 10 seconds. The Lupo is a great little car, and this new engine just makes it even more fun to drive. At £10,895 on the road, the package includes 16 valve badges, alloys, front fog lights and a very sporty centrally mounted stainless steel exhaust, unique on any production Volkswagen at the moment. As the name suggests, everything is colour-coded, and you can even get colour-coded leather upholstery. Next up, a new 1.6 Beetle. At £12,995 on the road, this is the most affordable Beetle yet. Now, Beatlemania might be settling down, but this new entry-level model makes it a more affordable proposition for people who want to drive something a bit different, but who don't want to spend a fortune. The 1.6 engine means a drop of 13 brake horsepower. The top speed is now 111 miles per hour, and 0 to 60 takes around 11.5 seconds. Included in the package are anti-lock brakes, driver and front passenger airbags, and VW's electronic stability program, which senses any slide and reacts by automatically applying the brakes to as many wheels as necessary, which of course makes driving safer because you're far less likely to skid. And as well as all that, you get electric windows, electric heated door mirrors, remote central locking and of course a bud vase. Everything else is just like the 2-litre Beetle. Basically in here it feels like you're in a Golf, and let's face it, that's what it is. It's a very easy car to drive. Get in and you're away. Having said that, you do miss the extra power of the 2-litre, particularly when you're pulling away or when you're overtaking. But really, there's enough power here for most people to live with, and it certainly won't be a problem for the money that you'll save. The only things that irritate me about this car on the road is the pillar here. It really does get in the way of your vision, and also the fact that other Beetle owners expect you to wave at them when you pass them on the road. Yes, hello. Yes, lovely to see you. But while the Beetle is okay for the novelty value, this is the kind of car I'd rather wake up to day after day. The Golf V5 170 brake horsepower. Volkswagen have revised the existing 5-cylinder 10-valve unit so that each cylinder now has 4 valves. And this multi-valve technology means that the engine revs more smoothly and more freely, giving you a lot more power at the top end. And you can really feel the benefits to it. The engine is absolutely superb. Whichever gear you're in now, this thing just pulls. It is amazing. And the added benefit as well is that it's a more economic unit than the old 150 brake horsepower one, so it's a bonus all round really. This is definitely the kind of motoring I like. Smooth performance, plenty of power and great handling. You don't have to work too hard behind the wheel, but somehow you still manage to feel involved in the drive. Now I know that Volkswagen's V5 may not be raw or exciting enough for everyone, but I like the fact that it's smooth and refined, so it suits me. It's a grown-up car, but then it comes at a grown-up price. The 3-door version will set you back £18,500 and this 5-door, £19,000. But then, I've always been a high-maintenance girl.
After the break, Ken Gibson gets seriously excited by a concept car. Plus we take a first look at Peugeot's replacement for the 306, the new 307.
Despite the fact that the Porsche 911 is now approaching middle age, it was 37 years since the first one was launched, and that it's been through 5 generations and been threatened with being killed off on more than one occasion unsuccessfully, there's something rather uniquely appealing about the 911 which no other car, not even a Ferrari, can match. And despite the fact that a new 911 now costs at least £56,000, there are plenty of good used examples to be found. For instance this, a 1979 911 SC Targa. It's done 84,000 miles, it's had 3 owners, it's in exceptional condition for its age, and it would cost you £12,000. The 911 has so many unusual quirks to it that many people are put off buying them. For instance, the rear-mounted engine, which can make them a little tail-happy in the wet. But slip behind the wheel of a 911, start up the air-cooled engine behind you and listen to that wonderful sound. Now, finding a good 911 can be a bit of a minefield, all the different models, variants and generations. So here's our guide on what to pay for one. A 1979 911 SC Targa around £12,000, a 1987 911 3.2 Carrera with 100,000 miles, £15,000, an H-Reg 911 Carrera 4, 19 grand, or how about the superb looking 911 Carrera Sport Targa 3.2 from 1988 for £17,500. So what do you need to check for on a 911? Well, certainly check all the way around the bodywork, because many may have had a shunt or two, and they've certainly been on track days as well, so they may have been thrashed. So a good check around all of the bodywork is essential. Make sure all the panel gaps fit correctly. The colour is the same all the way around the car. There may have been resprays and all sorts of things done. It's well worth getting a good independent Porsche specialist to check out a car like this. If you need a new clutch, that's going to cost you about 2 grand. Heat exchangers and exhaust systems are again expensive. It's out on the road that will finally convince you whether to buy a 911. Once you've got used to its rather unusual habits, it's a car that can put a big smile on your face, and it's quick as well. Find a dry, clear road, floor the throttle, and you'll rocket off into the distance. And despite the fact that this is not an expensive 911, it's still got that envy appeal to other drivers who want to give you a race away from the traffic lights or tailgate you. So, have I got your mind racing that yes, you might fancy a Porsche 911? Well, my tips would be, if you want one, read up and do your homework about the cars, because there are lots of different models and variants available. Coupes, cabriolets, Targas and turbos. Go to a specialist dealer who knows his stuff. And remember that cars over 10 years old will qualify for classic insurance, which should only cost you a few £100s. So this week's used car tip is the Porsche 911.
of the frustrations of concept cars, especially very expensive one-off concept cars, and this is the only one of these in the world, is that you can't really push them to the limit. Considering it's a concept vehicle that are normally amazingly flimsy, despite the fact they've spent over £500,000, the car feels actually very, very solid. It feels as if it's ready for the road. The other thing I like about the car is that it's actually not that big. It's not like the normal bulky 4x4. It's pretty compact, which will make it very popular with urban users. In fact, it'll be the ideal vehicle for going around the urban jungle during the week, but for those people that want to escape on a weekend and go and play in the rural jungle. And this will be the ideal dual-purpose vehicle. I love the lines. It's almost like a piece of motoring architecture. Look at these chiseled lines there. It's as if somebody has just sort of worked it out of hard metal. And at the front you've got this gorgeous grille that looks total aggression. The lights, this little effect is what they call the Chinese tea room, because these are like the windows on a Chinese tea room. It's got great flowing dynamic lines. It looks just incredible. Edges, sharp edges everywhere. You look as if you could cut yourself on it. It's got some wonderful little touches here, like the special springs which were taken from the Paris-Dakar rally for 4x4s. And then you come to the magnificent rear. If you thought the front was pretty impressive, what about that? If that isn't the most wonderful back end of a car you've ever seen, I don't know what is. And it's full of great little touches. How about this? Open sesame. Glass roof, just so you put your shopping in nice and easily. This is your box for hidden treasures. You can have everything there from cameras to computers. One of the neatest bits of kit though is the reversing window in the spare wheel, which gets rid of one of the more usual nightmares of reversing a big boxy 4x4. And the best thing of all about this is that this sort of £500,000 worth of concept car is actually totally roadworthy. Not only does it go on the tarmac, but it's also pretty impressive off-road. So let's stop talking and do some driving. If you thought the exterior was pretty radical, welcome to Battlestar Galactica. I mean, this really does look like nothing on Earth. It's, I was going to do this piece, Houston we have liftoff, but I think it needs something more Japanese, like Banzai or something. It really does look as if it would be the perfect thing for a modern samurai. It looks like a battle wagon. Let's take it for a spin. Automatic gearbox. Chunky, I think you would describe this. Down into drive, and off we go. So, final verdict. I've only really got one thing to say to Isuzu, apart from obviously you must build this incredible machine, and that's the name. For a company that's known throughout the world for its Isuzu Trooper, there can be no other name for this vehicle but the Starship Trooper.
Well, here's a car that'll soon be seen on all the sand dunes of Britain. It's the new Peugeot 307. Oh, dare you say just a tarted up 306, but no. This is all new and bigger and far better than the aging 306. It'll come to the UK this summer, and it really is, on first looks, a far better proposition than its predecessor. Despite the much-needed size, improvements which rear passengers will appreciate, is not as heavy thanks to using an aluminium body and composite front panels. Inside, well, it really has a touch of luxury about it, and you peer out through a vast windscreen akin more to a mini MPV. Peugeot went to a lot of trouble to get the visibility right with the 307, and inside you do get a feeling of airy spaciousness without pesky pillars getting too much in the way of your driving. 3- and 5-door hatchbacks will be offered, first in the range, and this body in silver looks absolutely gorgeous. In fact, take a look at this shot. Doesn't it remind you of an Audi A3? Well, this is just the sector Peugeot is aiming at. PSA, who own both Peugeot and Citroën, want to make Peugeot enjoy more upmarket executive appeal, while Citroën is to be aimed at good value family motoring. Families will not reject this 307 offering, however. It's plenty practical for shopping, kids and all the stuff you need to carry around. Plus, everyone will be able to personalise their interiors with a choice of wood or aluminium finish, and 2 seat fabrics as well with the new Peugeot 307. But it's on the road it's where you'll notice the new refinement and road manners, which are far better than the old 306. It's got a hard job to convince the potential Focus, Golf and Astra owners, however, and it's an even harder job if it is to crack the Audi A3 or Alfa 147 customer base. Disc brakes are fitted front and rear with electronic brake force distribution. Plus, if you brake hard, it makes the hazard lights also come on, a great safety feature, and as seen on the Peugeot 607. 5 trims are in the offering so far: L, LX and a GLX, plus the sporty XSI and a diesel burner. Plus, if you're a 306 GTI 6 fan, a GTI version with probably about 180 brake horsepower under the bonnet is coming next year. We'll get more details when the car is officially unveiled at the Geneva Motor Show. In next week's Motor Week, we go head-to-head, or coupe-to-coupe should we say, when Richard Hammond tests the new Astra Coupe Turbo against one of its nearest rivals, the sleek and sophisticated 190 brake horsepower Toyota Celica VVTi, plus a whole lot more. We'll see you next week.